Congratulations, you have survived the worst bear market in Bitcoin ever. And here's why. And this was the latest halving in 2020. Those halvings are always above the 200-week moving average. So the big question is, how will the price of Bitcoin be at the halving, at the 2024 April halving? Now, we can try and estimate that from only this 200-week moving average, which goes like this. So we have 9 months to go. The 200-week moving average increases currently at about 500 a day. So 9 times 500 will be 4,500, and Bitcoin 200-week moving average right now is a little under 28,000. So 28 plus 4 is, well, $32,000 moving average at the halving approximately, and Bitcoin would be above that, right? And usually it would be like, well, 1.5, so 50% above that, which would indicate a range of Bitcoin at the halving between 40 and 50K.
With all the recent events plus what the charts are saying, most crypto experts are now seeing undeniable signs that Bitcoin will explode to over $40,000 in a few months. And here's the proof coming directly from chart analysis from 3 experts. First, from Plan B.
Congratulations, you have survived the worst bear market in Bitcoin ever. And here's why. Now, Bitcoin is currently at around 30,000, a little above 30,000, and the 200-week moving average is about a little under $28,000. Now, given Bitcoin's 4-year cycle, I think it makes a lot of sense to use the 200-week moving average. 200 weeks is basically 4 years, right? So one of the first things that we can see is that the 200-week moving average never goes down. It always goes up. There's always, every day, a new all-time high in the 200-week moving average. And the other thing is that Bitcoin rarely goes below the 200-week moving average. Maybe here a little bit, but it rarely goes below until this bear market in 2022. And, you know, the good news is it's all over. We're beyond that. Right now above the 200-week moving average, and so this was the real capitulation and liquidation event. We had the Luna Terra thing here, and then the FTX implosion here. We cleared the FTX gap, not yet the Luna gap, but we soon will, in my opinion. And well, we're beyond that. I know there's a lot of bears that are still waiting for a dip to 10K Bitcoin or something to buy. So that would be around this line, and you can immediately see from this chart how ridiculous that would look. But anyway, I think it's over. We already had that dip, that liquidation dip, that capitulation phase, and we have that behind us. 2014 and 2018 bear markets were deeper than current bear market, because those were minus 85% events here too, from 20,000 to 3,000, and from 1,100 to about 150. Those were really deep events. However, there are very few people that buy those absolute tops. So we're talking about a hypothetical crash of 85% that in reality very few people experience. So in my opinion, it's much better to look at averages like this 200-week moving average if we measure market sentiment. Now note that the bear markets are always in the green. So that's about 1.5 years before a halving. And we're currently beyond that already. So now blue is coming up. The halving is coming up in 9 months, in April 2024. So somewhere here. And what you see is that the halving, which is the point where the blue turns green and the cycle starts all over again, and this was the latest halving in 2020, those halvings are always above the 200-week moving average. So the big question is, how will the price of Bitcoin be at the halving, at the 2024 April halving? Now, we can try and estimate that from only this 200-week moving average, which goes like this. So we have 9 months to go. The 200-week moving average increases currently at about 500 a day. So 9 times 500 would be 4,500, and Bitcoin 200-week moving average right now is a little under 28,000. So 28 plus 4 is, well, $32,000 moving average at the halving approximately. And Bitcoin would be above that, right? And usually it would be like, well, 1.5, so 50% above that, which would indicate a range of Bitcoin at the halving between 40 and 50K.
You can see that according to Plan B's charts, the bear market is officially over. Now pay attention to what Alessio Rastani sees as well.
What are the targets? What are the key levels we have to reach, first of all, before we can speculate that Bitcoin is going to go to 100K or 120K? In other words, is it a bit premature to even speculate right now that Bitcoin is going to go above 100K, let alone the fact we have not even reached the all-time highs yet? So that's what I want to talk about with you. So let me show you this chart of Bitcoin. First of all, this is the weekly chart of Bitcoin. It's quite long-term. As you can see, this is from the highs we made near 69K in 2021 to the lows we made last year in 2022, as you can see, near 16K. Now, what I've done is I put on that chart, first of all, this blue line. That's the 21 weekly moving average, a very important key level on the chart. And you've probably heard me talking about it before in my earlier videos. Notice when Bitcoin rallied and pushed above with that green bar, that was the beginning of this year. I think that was back in January of this year. So when Bitcoin pushed and rallied in that green bar above the 21 weekly moving average, and when it stayed above it at least 2 or 3 weeks, so at least you had a couple of weeks after it stayed above that 21 weekly with some green bars, that increased the probability that a likely reversal happened in trend. In other words, the trend went from a bear market to a potential bull market. Or in other words, the trend changed from bearish to bullish. And in fact, that's the reason. That was one of the reasons I got bullish on Bitcoin at the beginning of this year. That wasn't the only reason. The other reason I mentioned the beginning of this year, and that was when the MACD on the 2-week time frame gave us a bullish. This is why my rule is that when price breaches and goes above the 21 weekly, it needs to stay above that level for at least 2 or 3 weeks to give us an increasing probability that it's not a false break or it's not some kind of fake rally. So that's why when price goes above the 21 weekly, as you can see in that green bar at the beginning of this year, it's a good idea to just be patient and just wait for a few bars, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, just to make sure it's not a bear trap or a false break. By the way, another bullish clue came for Bitcoin when it pulled back to the 21 weekly and then formed this hammer-shaped candlestick pattern, as you can see, right above the 21 weekly, and that is usually a good sign, a positive sign, when Bitcoin holds above the 21 weekly despite the pullback or retracement. Now, if we now put on our chart our Fibonacci levels, so these are logarithmic Fibonacci levels, and by the way, for Bitcoin, what I prefer to do is to enable the logarithmic setting within the Fibonacci retracement levels. So as you can see there, now we've got these lines, these horizontal lines on the chart. That orange line was a 38.2% Fibonacci level, which by the way, we were expecting to be reached at the beginning of this year. So right at the beginning of this year, I was calling for this level of 27K or 27,376 to be reached. After we reached that first target, the next level comes up, as you can see, the 50% retracement, that's about 32,660. And the most important level, it's a level I mentioned to our members recently, and that is the 61.8% golden ratio retracement, which is right there about 39K. Or let's just round it up, make it simple, about 40K. So that means if Bitcoin is going to make some kind of retracement, some kind of a rally this year, okay, which I think is more likely. I think as long as Bitcoin stays above the June lows, it's more likely for the path of least resistance and the overall trend to remain to the upside, despite any pullbacks which may happen. So overall, usually when price retraces its prior decline, so that's the prior crash of last year, as you can see there. So usually price likes to retrace back. In other words, price likes to move back, ideally to its golden ratio 61.8% level, which by the way on Bitcoin, as I mentioned earlier, is about 39 to 40K. So that remains my higher probability target for the next several months for Bitcoin.
And if you're not convinced yet, Crypto Zombie also made his new prediction showing that if we break and keep above this level, Bitcoin is skyrocketing.
You can see right here, look where we got perfectly rejected. I mean, exactly rejected yesterday. Bitcoin had that pump. We got up almost to that $32,000 level. And again, we were rejected by this major support, which is now acting as our resistance. This is going to be a very, very difficult level to break through, but I can tell you what, once we do break through it, we're probably going to absolutely skyrocket. But I am going to tell you this, on the weekly right now, we are officially above the 1.618, which is $30,640. So if we close this week above it, you can see if I zoom in right here, this would be the first weekly candle. You can see, look, every time we get to this level, look at this, right? What do? We come up and then we close below it. We come up, we close directly at it, and then, we fall, and finally, we're actually above this level for the first time. And once we get above this blue, that brings us to here, which is our next target. That's the 2.618, this level right here. And yeah, that's around $47,000 to $48,000. So I think this could be pretty explosive.
Gareth also said that Bitcoin needed to break the 30,500 and stay there for at least 5 days to ensure the bear market was over. So many confluences, experts, and charts are saying the same. And if you haven't seen it, yesterday we posted this video from Raoul Pal saying that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even other alts bull run just started. So watch it now to understand how the fundamentals and macro aligned with these charts and that big money is coming.